So, und damit sollte ich live sein. Hoffe ich zumindest. Muss das mal gerade gegenchecken hier. Ah, das sieht gut aus. Perfekt. So, einen wunderschönen guten Abend, liebe Freunde. Wir sind nämlich heute hier versammelt, um uns live von der GameStack, die ich euch ja schon mal hier oben einblenden kann, denn ich habe da wie immer was vorbereitet hier. Da läuft bereits schon seit einigen Stunden die GameStack und genau, ich kriege jetzt auch gerade die Meldung, dass der Twitch sei schon, dass der YouTube Livestream live gegangen ist und ja, ich habe schon gesehen, sind auch schon zahlreich alle versammelt hier und gucken schon zu. Erstmal einen wunderschönen guten Abend an alle, die da sind. Und gegen 19:40 Uhr oder sogar 19:55 Uhr soll dann da in dem Livestream etwas zur Xbox Series X in Verbindung mit ProjectX Cloud kommen. Der Panel heißt genau, ich muss mal ganz kurz schauen, der Panel heißt genau, hier steht's, Panel. Da steht Xbox Series X plus ProjectX Cloud gleich New Chapter in Gaming. So, und da bin ich gespannt, was da kommen wird. Das schauen wir uns auf jeden Fall gerne hier gemeinsam an. Aber ihr könnt natürlich gerne, wie immer, bis dahin auch noch Fragen stellen. Also wenn ihr wollt, dann haut sie jetzt raus. Wir können auch gerne noch über das Gezeigte oder das Gehörte, gezeigt wurde ja nicht wirklich was, zur PlayStation. PlayStation 5 ist ja auch heute ein Thema für die, die jetzt gerade eingeschaltet haben. Die PlayStation wurde in einer sehr, sehr hardware-spezifischen, ich sage jetzt mal Live-Ankündigung vorgestellt, wo es auch darum ging, was kann der neue, ich sage jetzt mal, der neue SSD-Speicher der Konsole, wie schnell arbeitet der in Verbindung mit den CPU zusammen, etc. Ja, all diese Informationen wurden da quasi heute veröffentlicht. Ich denke mal, das Ganze ging, glaube ich, eine Stunde, ein bisschen was über eine Stunde. Das könnt ihr euch gerne mal anschauen auf dem PlayStation YouTube-Kanal natürlich. Und wir werden auf jeden Fall nachher da mal reinschauen. Jetzt gerade geht es um die Zusammenarbeit, wie halt quasi das zukünftig in der, ich sag mal, Game-Industrie, wie das Zusammenarbeiten da passieren soll, wie halt Spiele entwickelt werden und so. Das ist jetzt gerade die ganzen Infos. Wurde die PS5 gezeigt? Nein, die PS5 wurde nicht gezeigt. Da die Frage immer wieder kommt, was wird sie kosten? Ich kann es nicht sagen. Ich hoffe, dass sie nicht zu teuer wird, aber ich denke mal 500, 600 Euro für die Xbox ist gar nicht mal so unwahrscheinlich. Da müssen wir mal schauen. Also das ist die Frage, die halt auch immer wieder kommt. Also von daher gerne mehr. Genau. Die PlayStation 5 hat 10,28 Teraflops oder 2,3. Ich mache mal gerade meine schlaue Seite auf. Ich habe da nämlich so ein Bild. Genau. Also die PlayStation kommt mit 10,28 Teraflops und sie wird auch keine kompletten 1 Terabyte Speicher drin haben. Sie hat 825 Gigabyte. Okay, 175 werden wahrscheinlich irgendwie reserviert sein oder sowas, aber naja, halb so wild, halb so wild. So. Ich habe übrigens auch gerade eben von den Kollegen von Bethesda habe ich einen Review-Code für Doom Eternal bekommen. Also da gehen Grüße nochmal raus. Dankeschön, Bethesda. Das werden wir dann auf Twitch machen, das Ganze. Aber heute, wie gesagt, geht es hier auf jeden Fall um die Xbox Series X. Also, wie gesagt, wenn ihr Fragen habt, haut sie raus. Das Ganze wird übrigens, also die Statistiken von diesem Stream hier werde ich natürlich dann auch an Microsoft geben, weil Microsoft da immer Statistiken zu aufnimmt. Und da könnte es natürlich auch sein, dass die dann in den einen oder anderen Stream mal reinschauen. Da muss man natürlich, ne, mit rechnen. Der PS5-Stream war gut. Deine Smileys verraten mir, wie du das meinst. Was wird gezeigt? Xcloud Starttermin. Wenn wir das wüssten, würden wir das nicht mehr schauen. Oder? Was denkst du? Wie hat dir der Stream gefallen? Meinst du den von PlayStation? Also ich sag's euch ganz ehrlich, wenn ich gewusst hätte, dass das ein sehr technischer Stream wird, oder hätte ich das gewusst, dass es ein technischer Stream wird, hätte ich mir den nicht angeschaut, weil ich weiß, dass sowas sehr, 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 sehr langweilig sein kann für jemanden, den es nicht interessiert. Und ich habe einfach gedacht, die werden heute da ein bisschen die PlayStation zeigen und danach halt auf die Technik eingehen. Aber im Großen und Ganzen sind die gar nicht auf PlayStation mehr oder weniger eingegangen. Also die haben nichts gezeigt, außer halt Architekturinfos, sprich, wie arbeitet CPU mit Speicher zusammen. Und das sind so Sachen, ich weiß nicht, also ja, das ist ganz schwierig. Das von der PS5 war kein Stream, das war eine Premiere. Ja gut, das war eine Aufzeichnung, klar. Aber für die war es dennoch eine Art Premiere, kannst du so sehen. Ja. Aha, Patron ist auch am Start, moin. Ja, ihr müsst immer, wenn ihr, siehst du, den Icarus, den erkenne ich zum Beispiel, weil er seinen eigenen Namen hat. Da mache ich keine Unterschiede. Aber die meisten Leute kenne ich ja gar nicht. Ja, wenn sie von Twitch mit einem anderen Namen da sind, dann erkenne ich euch natürlich nicht. Das soll euch klar sein. Naja, sicher. Den einen oder anderen erkenne ich natürlich. Ist doch logisch. Danke fürs Ignorieren. Ja, es gelingt mir gut, ne? Das finde ich, ja, es kommt wieder, das mache ich wieder, natürlich. Keine Info über den Controller, kein Bild zur Konsole, nichts. Ja gut, wie ist das denn? Wer von euch spielt denn ernsthaft mit dem Gedanken, dass er sowieso sagt, ich kaufe mir Xbox und ich kaufe mir PlayStation? Wem ist das denn egal, was die zeigen? Also ich muss euch ganz ehrlich sagen, ich habe ja schon, bevor ich überhaupt was von der PlayStation 5 wusste, aufgrund dessen, dass meine PS4 da unten leider im Regal verstaubt, ja, habe ich für mich entschieden, dass eine PS5 dieses Jahr nicht bei mir einzieht. Und ich denke auch nächstes Jahr auch nicht. Ja, also von daher, das stimmt. Schon immer Xbox. Okay. Was? Wie du gelesen hast, stellen sie erst im PS5 im späten Sommer vor. Na gut. Da bin ich mal gespannt. Dann gucke ich halt nur zu, kein Ding. Ja, wenn du. Niemand zwingt dich hier etwas zu schreiben. Und ihr werdet verstehen können, dass ich bei einer gewissen Menge nicht mehr auf jeden Einzelnen eingehen kann. Und wer sich dadurch vernachlässigt fühlt, es tut mir leid. Ich kann nicht jeden streicheln. Genau, so bin ich auch. So bin ich halt auch. Mich hat halt einfach nur interessiert, wie, wie einfach wie soll ich sagen, wie ist die PlayStation positioniert? Ja, wie steht sie da? Wie, werden wir, das Ganze bekommen, wenn es ja, ich finde es nur schade für einen reinen PlayStation-Fan, der sich so ein bisschen erhofft hat, ich meine, durch über 1.500.000, die da zugeschaut haben, wenn ihr mir überlegt, 1.500.000 Zuschauer, also über 1.500.000, waren ja 650.000, was ich so gesehen hatte, haben wahrscheinlich darauf gehofft, dass jetzt sehen wir die Powermaschine der nächsten Generation und, dann bekommen die da, sage ich mal, wirklich nur komplette, trockene Theorie. Das ist, 'n bisschen enttäuschend. Also, ich würde mich dann und das muss man mal ganz klar sagen, also, Microsoft hat das ganz anders gemacht, ja. Niemand hat damit gerechnet, auch nicht der Veranstalter damals von den Game Awards, als Phil Spencer da was über den Game Pass erzählt hatte. Und dann bei der Premiere, wo es dann quasi darum ging, so: „Jetzt kommt, die Info von der Xbox“, und auf einmal haut er da die Xbox raus. Also, da hat ja keiner mit gerechnet. Und das sind einfach Dinge, das ist einfach richtig gemacht, ja. Und das hätte ich mir einfach so von der PlayStation auch gewünscht, ja. Einfach so 'n Video, ich sage mal, das wäre doch super ab und super viral gegangen, wenn die da einfach was rausgehauen hätten. Nein, ich bin immer schon Xbox-Freund. Okay, ich sehe viele, natürlich sind viele wegen Xbox alleine hier. Aber was da halt heute so gezeigt, also ich würde es als wenn ich ein richtiger, ja, PlayStation-Fanboy wäre, ich bin ja mehr so ein Microsoft-Fanboy und das gebe ich ja auch zu, das wisst ihr. Ja, seit Tag eins habe ich die Xbox, die erste Xbox. Ich hatte auch seit Tag eins die PlayStation, das war wirklich so. Ich hatte damals die PlayStation eins, dann hatte ich die PlayStation 2, dann hatte ich die Xbox, 360, die Xbox One. Jetzt gehen wir in die, Series X rein und ich hatte alle Konsolen, die es da so gab, ja. Ich hatte natürlich auch die Xbox 360 Elite-Version, die schwarze damals mit, 250 Gigabyte, weiß ich noch. Damals gab es ja 120, 250, also Wahnsinn. Promo kann Microsoft besser? Na, würde ich nicht so sehen. Ne, 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 ne. Die haben auch schon viel verkackt. Also, die haben echt schon viel, viel Scheiße gemacht. Und der Lüfter von der PS4 ist eine Frechheit. Ja, der soll besser geworden sein, habe ich gehört. GameCube hatte ich auch alles. Ich hatte GameCube, ich hatte sogar die Dreamcast. Also, die Dreamcast war in meinem, was so im Kopf hängen geblieben ist, in meinem Kopf so das schlimmste Ladegeräusch neben dem 56K Modem, ja? Also, die Dreamcast, wenn die 'nen Spiel geladen hat, dieses „Wiet, wiet, wiet, wiet“, boah, das ging mir voll auf den Senkel, Alter. Das war richtig dumm. Wo bekommt man die Ständer her für deine Controller? Ähm Ich poste euch mal einen Link, weil den könnt ihr hier nicht abrufen, glaube ich. Weil hier geht, glaube ich, die Befehle nicht. So, gerade den Link hier, den müsstet ihr eigentlich abrufen können. So, guck mal, ob der Link funktioniert. Ich gucke mal selber. Ja, genau. Da ist meine Hardware abgebildet und, unter Controller-Ständer sollten die genau, Controller-Halterung unter Xbox One-Hardware. Ich werde mal die Xbox einfach mal abändern in Xbox Hardware, weil dann seht ihr da alles genau aufgelistet. Genau. Da könnt ihr euch das genau mal anschauen. Sehr gut. Ich hatte eben gelesen, was ich mir gleich vorstelle von der Geschichte. Ich denke mal, das könnte sein, dass nur ein paar Entwickler was darüber erzählen oder müssen wir mal schauen, wer da jetzt gleich wie oder was zu sagen hat. Wie der Panel genau aussieht, das weiß ich nicht, weil ich sehe halt, dass da ab und zu Entwickler reden. Hier heißt es ganz klar um 11:45, das wäre unserer Zeit in 10 Minuten, also 19:55 Uhr. Und da heißt es halt Xbox Series X plus Project X Cloud gleich New Chapter in Gaming. Also da müssen wir gleich mal abwarten, einfach, was da kommt. Ich vermisse die Xbox 360-Zeiten, viele Games, CD rein und go. Ja, du darfst nicht vergessen, in der heutigen Zeit ist das so, eine CD oder ein Laufwerk einer CD ist nicht mehr so schnell, dass die Daten dementsprechend geladen und direkt als Bild auf dem Monitor oder TV erscheinen. Das schafft keine, also das ist heutzutage nicht mehr möglich, ja. Deswegen gibt es halt diese, alle Spiele müssen installiert werden und. Also das war ja am PC damals schon gang und gäbe. Ja, also PC hatte sehr, sehr schnell umgesattelt, dass du quasi alle CDs immer installieren musstest. Und dass es halt bei Konsolen irgendwann so kommen wird, war auch klar, weil wir wollen ja auch coolere Grafik haben, wir wollen ja auch cooleres Gameplay sehen. Und das kannst du halt nur erreichen, wenn du halt schnelle Zugriffe auf die einzelnen, ja, ich sage jetzt mal Texturen, auf das ganze Spielgeschehen etc. hast. Ansonsten funktioniert das natürlich nicht. Ja. Wann kommt Project X Cloud für alle? Das hoffe ich bald, dass wir das mal erfahren. Wenn ich das wüsste, dann wüsste ich das. Achso, ich muss über dir meine kleine Dingens noch einbauen. Moment. So, damit ihr das nicht vergesst. Ja. Habe mir den Magenta Controller vorgestellt. Ich auch. Ich bin gespannt, wann er kommt. Der sollte jetzt irgendwann eintreffen, hoffe ich. Müsste, wann war der Release? Ich glaube 23. oder so ähnlich. 23. war der Release. Ja, Tobi, das stand aber in dem Post mit drinne, ne? Aber ich sag mal so, die Leute, also die PlayStation-Fans, die waren halt hungrig. Die wollten endlich Informationen haben. Und ja, also ich glaube, wie die Xbox mit der Project X Cloud zusammenarbeitet oder mit Xcloud, ich denke einfach, dass sie uns wahrscheinlich gleich sagen werden, dass die X-Cloud irgendwann aus Series X bestehen wird und dass man dadurch natürlich auch bessere Grafik haben wird. Und ich gehe einfach davon aus, dass man früher oder später mehr von dem Dienst haben wird als X-Cloud anstelle des, ich sag jetzt mal, also die wollen halt die Leute auf die Devices holen, die quasi keine Konsole kaufen. Weißt du, diese Gelegenheitsspieler, die einfach das Handy nehmen und einfach damit zocken. Und ich denke einfach, dass das im Zuge dessen irgendwie was mit zusammenhängen könnte. Vermutung. Was es genau ist, werden wir in 6 Minuten erfahren. Was denkst du, ob im Januar 2021 eine neue Version der Xbox Series X Hitcher, ich verstehe die Frage nicht. Warum sollte knapp 2 Monate nach Release direkt eine neue, also das ergibt keinen Sinn. Also das wäre viel zu kurzfristig. Also viel zu kurz, der Zeitsprung. Das macht keinen Sinn. Aha. Ich als PS-Fan war enttäuscht. Da hat Microsoft bessere Performance gezeigt. Über 66.000 Daumen runter auf dem PS5-Video. Das Problem ist, das ist das, was ich vorhin schon mal gesagt habe. Ich vermute einfach, dass die meisten das nicht verstanden haben. Und das ist halt leider, ja, problematisch. Wegen Kinderkrankheiten und so weiter, war doch damals bei Elite. Hitcher, du bist doch jemand, der immer geschrieben hat, dass er immer noch seine Xbox One hat, oder? Die Tag 1 Version, oder? Hattest du damit Probleme bisher? Also müsste sich deine Frage doch selbst erübrigen, oder? Also macht keinen Sinn. Nee. Und das mit der Xbox 360, ja, das war ein Fehler von denen, aber das ist denen ja nie wieder passiert. Also bei mir ist noch nie eine Xbox One wegen Hitze oder so gestorben. Und wenn, klar, wenn ich dann natürlich meine Schlafdecke oder sowas draufschmeiße und zock dann da erstmal schön in 4K 60 Gears of War oder Forza, dann ist klar, dass das Ding irgendwann abraucht, aber bisher ist da nichts passiert. Snipes, sie müssen die nicht für die Cloud anpassen. Die Spiele können sofort, das hat Phil Spencer damals schon ganz klar gesagt, die Spiele können sofort auch in der Cloud gespielt werden. Also das Spiel funktioniert sofort. Also das bedarf keiner Anpassung. Das haben sie damals schon gesagt. Ob man Gameplay gleich sieht, keine Ahnung. Kann ich nicht sagen, Leute. Das ist halt alles schwierig. Also, ich glaube, Gameplay werden die sich aufheben bis zu ihrer E3-Präsentation, ja, die ja keine direkte Präsentation sein wird. Also von daher, ja, so. 1953, ich will mal reinhören, ob da jetzt was passiert hier.
You play our indie games.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt. I think I've played through Stardew Valley like 4 or 5 times now.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
What did you
I'm
think
not-
after the third? That's what I want to know.
Well, the multiplayer got added, and they keep doing the updates, and now you can date Shane. But this seems to be just me talking about myself. What about you? What indie games do you like?
You know what's my favorite one? Hashtag iDarb. That's the one from back in the day.
Which
It was a little 8-bit hashtag iDarb. Yes, it draws a red box, I believe is what it ended up being called. Imagine like a 2D almost soccer game with, there was this old sludge bit that you're running around controlling a little pixel that is
I think you're making
a
this
soccer
up.
ball. I kid you not, it is out there. And as soon as we get our prompter back up to speed, we'll get you guys rolling with the rest of the show because I see somebody who's getting set for our next talk. And it'll be a good time. But if you're at home and you're watching, I want to remind you guys, hop into Discord. Let us know your thoughts, your questions. The show's going on and we're having a ton of fun with it.
We are.
And I still laugh that all this came together last minute. So we hope you're enjoying it too. And if you are, jump into Discord. Let us know how it's going. Again, this event is called GameStack Live because we were all about talking GameStack. We had that bit earlier. Now, yesterday we brought you through some of the tools and solutions that Microsoft has brought together for game development under one family, the GameStack family of solutions.
Robust tools and solutions like GameStack deserve much more time than we have to showcase them from yesterday and today, which is why we've created GameStack.com, an online resource to help you learn everything you need to know about GameStack. Whether you're looking for an out-of-the-box full experience or looking to engage in just 1 or 2 tools from the pack, GameStack has something for every kind of game and every development goal.
And remember, we're in Discord talking all things tech with our tech experts right now.
Speaking of goals, next-gen console gaming has been a goal for many of us in the last few months, and many more going forward.
All right, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for to speak about the future of console gaming. Let's send it over to Brian with more from ProjectX Cloud and Xbox Series X.
Okay, jetzt geht's los. Ob die echt ist? Oh, das ist so eine Development Box, weil die hat einen Expedit-Anschluss.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief. I'll take it from here. All right. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Ricari. I have the pleasure of helping moderate this incredible panel today. So let's introduce our players to you. First up, we have Catherine Gluckstein, who is the GM of ProjectX Cloud, responsible for product and strategy. Then we're going to have Jason Ronald, the Director of Program Management for the Xbox platform. We've got Rachel Card, Senior Director of Program Management for Microsoft Gaming. And rounding things out is going to be Chris Novak, Partner and Head of Xbox Design Studio. Everyone, welcome. Cool. Can we hear everybody? You guys on the phone? Can we hear us a little say hello?
Yep, we're here.
Thanks for having us. Hey, Brian.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so got a couple ground rules today. Again, everybody, we're doing this live, so this is going to be a lot of fun. But as ground rules, just because we have everybody that is going to be on picture but no video, we're going to do a little bit of listening actions here. So I'm going to be asking questions, and I'm going to try and ask a question directly to a person. So when you guys get that, just give a second pause so we can make sure that we're not speaking over each other, but we're going to do the best we can. So with that, before we get into the meat of the topics, I want to give some context as to why each of you were chosen to be with us today. Catherine, let's start with you. Before xCloud, you served as Phil Spencer's Chief of Staff, bringing with you more than 20 years of product experience. How has that prepared you to step into this leadership role?
So firstly, Brian, I just want to say I wish I could be there in person, but as you know, all our worlds have been turned upside down by this crazy virus. And in fact, I've got 2 kids in another room doing homeschooling and my husband on meetings elsewhere. So I'm just fingers crossed my internet's going to stand up. But absolutely, what prepared me for this role? So, really I've spent the last 20 years building a career that has sort of harnessed technology to evolve the distribution, consumption, and business models for content. And then about 3 years ago, as you rightly said, I joined Xbox as Phil Spencer's Chief of Staff. And I have to say, that was an incredible experience. I mean, Phil, as we know, is one of gaming's greats. He might blush if I say that, but it's, to have the experience to learn about gaming, alongside him just gave me, incredible insight into where this business is going. And as you know, Brian, we spent a lot of time looking to evolve the Xbox strategy during that period. It was where we stated our goal was to reach the 2 billion gamers on the planet. And we defined our framework as the 3 C's, the content, community, and cloud. And, as you can see, I'm lucky enough now to get to execute this strategy with an amazing team, really get to execute on that 3rd C, the cloud strategy. So couldn't feel luckier.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Jason, let's go to you. You were part of the core team on Xbox Series X, and before that, you were with the Xbox Advanced Technology Group and Xbox Game Studios. Now, you've had a front row seat to much of the evolution happening in the industry. How has that influenced the way that you lead teams around Xbox Series X?
Thanks, Brian. Really, this is one of the most exciting times in my long history in the game industry, with the introduction of new disruptive technologies, innovative game design, and just totally new ways to engage with players. So I think first and foremost, it's really about listening to our customers. And when I say customers, I mean both gamers and developers. The voice of the development community is absolutely critical to everything that we do here at Team Xbox, and it really kind of shapes where we take the technology and the platforms that we deliver. And as a platform builder and designer, our role is really to empower developers to deliver on their creative visions, but by providing them with the best hardware, software, and development tools. And we really want the technology to fade away, for both developers and players so that gamers have the most amazing and immersive experience on whatever device they choose to play on.
That's awesome. Rachel, let's go over to you. You have experience working with the governor of South Carolina, and you also led an indie video game studio. How has your background given you maybe a unique perspective as the product lead for Xbox Series X?
Hey, Brian, thanks for that. Yeah, so I have a really unique background. And first, I think I would just like to acknowledge I feel very, very fortunate for the experiences that I've had, both in my education and in my professional roles. The red thread kind of across all those is that I've had the honor to work with really great people and do really great things. When I worked with the Indie Game Studio, when we formed that, it was really about building amazing experiences for gamers and really digging deep to understand what would delight them and what experiences they would love. It was also about getting sold on the value of entrepreneurial spirit and agility and those skills I bring with me. To when I worked with the governor, that was really humbling. It was an awesome experience. We were on a personal mission, both of us, to increase job opportunities, to help a really difficult public education system in our beloved home state. And to my current role now, at Microsoft, it's our mission to strive to empower every person and every organization on the planet. And I think we're really fortunate to be in a position to help do that. And so for me, when I think about product, I'm grateful for my experiences, but really I'm most grateful for all of my team's experiences, because I think we all have very individual, unique experiences that shape the products we build. These products are a reflection of the team that built them. And we believe that in our core.
That's good. That's good. Now, Chris, let's finish with you real quick. You are a game designer by trade with over 25 years experience in the industry. Now, you've shipped titles like Forza Motorsport, Project Gotham Racing, Crackdown, I could go on. For those unfamiliar with the role of design and product development, would you mind elaborating a little bit?
Sure, happy to. Really, there's two primary roles. One is for the customer, and that is purely to help galvanize a team to deliver something which is unexpectedly fun. And I use those words "unexpectedly fun" very purposely, because frankly, when you're in an entertainment industry and you're making a game or you're playing that game, it's very challenging to beat the expectation that somebody has when they expect it to be fun. And so you're really trying to do something that delivers that little bit of extra unexpected fun, where it makes people talk and they talk about your game. They're like, hey, wait, they did what? Oh, I wouldn't have expected they do that. I need to try that out. And it's really that last little bit of getting them something which they didn't expect, right? Like if you're going to go drive a Ferrari, you're going to expect to be fast, but you're not going to expect the guy next to you to, hit the button that busts out the booster rockets on it. And that's going to be the thing that you remember because you weren't expecting it, right? You were expecting it to be great. You're expecting it to be fast, but those booster rockets were the thing that took it over the top. And that's really what you're trying to do on the game, trying to take that player on a journey and make them feel something. And the second role for design really amongst the team, it's really regarded as the discipline that helps tie everything together into something pure, something very focused. Because there are times when, hey, there might be business questions at hand or tech questions or just design questions themselves. And designers are really the ones pinned to, hey, here's where this can go. Here's that vision. Here's if this thing didn't go right. Here's how we can pivot and still deliver an excellent customer experience. And in the end, whether you're an audio designer or game designer, combat designer, or UX designer, there's a bunch of different flavors. Your job is to deliver something focused, pure, and that takes the player on a journey and makes them feel something.
That's good. I feel like whenever I see design, we have this conversation all the time in the office, Chris. It's like good products start with good design. So I love having you on the panel. I think this is going to be a great conversation. So let's get started. Let's get at this. I know y'all have been waiting for this. Jason, let's kick off with you. There was some big news this week on Xbox Series X. Can you tell us how the technical advances allow developers to unlock new and innovative gaming experiences?
Absolutely. This has been a really exciting week for the team. The team's been working really hard on Xbox Series X since 2016. And to finally be able to actually share some of the details of what we've been working on has definitely been a highlight for all of us. And, as you mentioned on Monday, we shared many of the details of our next generation console. And it's really about enabling transformative gaming experiences that we've never seen in the living room. You know, in the early days of the planning process, the design of the Xbox Series X was really directly influenced by three key principles. Like I mentioned before, first and foremost is developer and gamer feedback. When I was leading the Xbox Advanced Technology Group, you know, the team worked closely with developers all across the world, making everything from the industry's best blockbusters to competitive esports titles to extremely innovative ideas in game design coming from some of the industry's best independent creators. And we really listened, learned, and helped them overcome the technology barriers that were really limiting their aspirations for the games that they were creating, whether that was in hardware, software, or even the developer tools that we provide. And then I think another key aspect of it as well is gamers are also demanding higher and more stable frame rates. So we challenge ourselves to not only build a system that could reliably deliver high quality 4K game experiences at 60 frames a second, but we challenge ourselves to go even further and to deliver frame rates up to 120 frames a second, frame rates that historically you never thought were possible in the living room. You know, so it was really about kind of pushing those boundaries and really understanding what developers and gamers were really looking for in a next generation console. And then the second one is just really looking at the innovations in technology with an eye towards the future. You know, everything from advancements in CPU performance, more efficient usage of GPU, next generation graphics innovation and capabilities, things like hardware accelerated ray tracing or variable rate shading or mesh shaders. It's really about giving developers new kinds of tools to really build those rich dynamic worlds that players like to spend time in. And another great example of that is with the current generation, we're basically at the upper bounds of what's possible with a traditional rotational drive technology. And it was really constraining the game design that developers were having, where they'd have to arbitrarily funnel players through different tunnels or pathways, or, you know, you'd have a fast travel system where it'd take a super long time to teleport from one side of the map to another. So, you know, with these insights, it was very clear that we would need to invest in things like SSD level IO performance or a revolutionary new architecture to make it easier for game developers and game engines to stream assets in real time from the storage solution into the memory and the CPU and the GPU so that you can get that real rich, high fidelity, dynamic living world that players expect. And then I think the final principle or the final thing that we really thought about in the very early days was when you design a new console hardware platform, you're really setting the direction for gaming and game development for the next 7 to 10 years. So you really have to have a solid vision as to where you see game development going and the kinds of gaming experiences that players want to have. So as we looked into the future with new innovations like ProjectX Cloud and game streaming, we knew we had an opportunity to make key decisions in the design of the system that could open up brand new possibilities for developers. And like one thing that we learned very early on as we started working closely with the Azure team is some of the same challenges that we have in delivering a high performance game console in your living room are the same kinds of challenges that we have in the data center. Things such as delivering high performance for gaming workloads while minimizing power consumption and thermal management. And having that vision of a future really helped shape how we designed our custom SoC that's powering the Xbox Series X and the overall system architecture so that we could make sure that we're providing a common and consistent hardware, software, and development platform that makes it easier for developers to bring the games that they're developing today on console and PC into the cloud in the future. And many of the technologies that we're innovating and incubating with the Xbox Series X are being brought to PC and brought to ProjectX Cloud. And it's because we designed the system with the future in mind from the very outset of the program.
Wow. Yeah, Jason, this is blowing my mind. Like having worked on the team for a while and kind of getting a chance to see what this thing looks like in person is kind of like shocking me right now. This is actually the first time I've actually I can't touch it. My fingerprints will get on it. It's one of those things like, this is amazing. I geek out about this all the time. And you said something that has really just like blown my mind a bit, which is like, this is like one of the first times we've built a console thinking about where the next generation, the next iteration, the next paradigm shift in game development is really going. And you talk about the cloud. Can you touch a bit on the role that the cloud plays as you're thinking about the development of Xbox Series X?
Sure. So, there's certain scenarios, this is a custom SoC, this is a custom architecture that we've designed from the ground up to make sure that we're delivering that high fidelity gaming experience. But as you think about things like the cloud and what we're doing with Project X Cloud, there's certain things that, for example, virtualizing the display controller, as an example. If we're just designing the system in such a way to make only a high-performing gaming console, that's an investment that you wouldn't make, or it's a design decision you wouldn't really think about. But you only really get one chance to make those decisions, and it's when you're designing the chip, when you're designing the overall system architecture. So as we think about how developers are going to take their games and move them into the cloud, or how they're going to be developing games in the cloud in the future, we knew we needed to invest in certain key technological investments from day one to make sure that we're providing a clear path for developers, so that developers don't actually have to go and significantly alter their game or rewrite their game from scratch. We want to provide kind of a path as game streaming becomes much more prevalent and accessible. And ultimately, it's really about empowering developers to reach customers all across the world, whether they choose to own a console, they choose to play on a PC, or maybe streaming is going to be their primary experience. We want to provide that easy path for developers.
There's something you said, I have one more follow-up question on this, and this is something that a lot of teams, a lot of people that may be watching this maybe just don't know, is the lead time that it takes in order to put together a console. Can you talk to us a little bit about how, you mentioned making technology decisions of what the hardware is going to be in this box. It's not like, oh, it's 2 months from launch, let's just put this thing in there. There's a whole process to that thinking. Can you elaborate just a little bit on just some of the work that it takes to kind of think through where this is going to be in time?
Sure. We really started the development of Xbox Series X in 2016, before we'd even released the Xbox One X. So to your point on lead times, it's multiple years of investigation, of prototyping, of trying to figure out where the technology roadmap's going, understanding from developers what their game design aspirations are. There's entire new genres of games or new kinds of game experiences that, have come up in the last 2 to 3 years. So a lot of it is really kind of that partnership with our development partners, both at Xbox Game Studios as well as the best creators all across the industry. But it's also making sure that we have a clear vision of where do we see gaming going as Team Xbox. And once again, our goal is to get, Catherine mentioned earlier, really reaching out to those 2 billion gamers all across the world. So it's how do we make it as easy as possible? And what are the investments that we need to be making so that customers all across the world can have the same great gaming experience that those of us who grew up gaming on consoles know and love today, and do it in such a way that makes it easy for developers.
That's good. I think that's a perfect segue as well. Let's dig into the next bit of this. We want to talk a little bit about Project X Cloud. And Catherine, I'm going to bring this next question to you. Would you mind talking us through the approach of Microsoft bringing Project X Cloud to market? And before you jump in, I actually am going to, everybody follow me on the camera. This is going to be fun. We're doing this in real time. I have a server blade over here from Project X Cloud that I also was so excited when I heard this was going to be here. This is an actual Project X Cloud server blade that is in the footprints of Azure at the global data center level, and it is so cool to take a look at the guts of this thing because, wow, the tech that went into this, the making of this is unbelievably impressive. Catherine, back to the question. Walk us through Microsoft's approach in bringing X Cloud to market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Brian, when you just took off there, I had no idea where you were going. I was just like, well, where's he going now? But you're seeing our blade. And I mean, it is so cool. And it is, Rachel said it earlier, our product's a testament to the amazing teams that build them. And, looking at it, I just couldn't be more proud. So going back to what we believe the journey is, we think we are at the very beginning of a multi-year journey with streaming. there is much more we don't know about streaming than we do know right now. And that's exactly why we came to market with our preview plan, where you'll remember, and it seems like an age ago now, but we started last October with just 4 games in preview. And since then, we've expanded countries. We have more than 90 games. We've gone just from Android. We have an iOS test flight running. And as we talked about before, we will also be bringing this to Windows 10 PCs. This really is about a journey of us learning together with the developer community. And to see the passion with which developers have leaned into this with us and the learnings that we're doing together has just been mind-blowing. It just makes me so proud to be a part of this team.
That's awesome. And you mentioned just a moment ago the response from some of the game development community. Can you share a little bit about, like, how has it been working with game developers? What have they been saying in building for Project xCloud?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what? I'm reminded actually back to a story. We spent a lot of time, obviously, talking with developers before we launched into preview. And every time we would go to a meeting with a developer, we would take their game running on a mobile phone and hand it to them to play. And at that point, there was always silence in the room, and we kind of would look around the room and think, well, what's going on? And then the partner would start sort of looking around the room and, you know, talking to their teams and saying, well, who worked on this? And it was very clear that no one had worked on it, because actually when you build for Xbox, you build for xCloud. And what we had done is just made the game work automatically for them, really, and got it up and running pretty much in a matter of minutes. And that first stage, which we call lift and shift, literally taking a game that you've built for Xbox and
Das sind
putting
auf jeden
it
Fall
in the
immer
cloud,
2. Also das sind
literally
keine,
blew
das
the
sind immer 2
developers
übereinander.
away.
Das steht auch da in der
So
Bezeichnung.
that's been absolutely fascinating. And then we've just learned, you know, so much about how gamers are using streaming. And basically, you know, we're seeing gamers play more across the board, which has been fascinating for developers. You know, they're not just playing more on xCloud, they're also playing more on Xbox and PC. And specifically, we're learning about different sort of genre types and what gamers who stream their games are enjoying perhaps more than others. So it really is a journey of us learning together. But we also are aware that there are some developers who want to be doing more to optimize their games for the cloud. And in those circumstances, we really talk about it as cloud aware. This is the work we're doing around touch controls to support native interaction, or some of the APIs that we're developing that provide device side characteristics so that developers can optimize for the much smaller screen size. So as you can see, it's literally this symbiotic journey that we're on with our developers to really, you know, begin to optimize this experience. You know, when I talk to my team, I really talk about, you know, the speed of our learning cycles. Whenever you're bringing a new technology to market, it's all about learning. And the faster we learn, the better we're going to optimize this product. So that's absolutely the journey that we're on.
Oh, so good. I always remember when I'm sitting in rooms with you, like one of the things you say is we always have to keep learning. We always have to keep improving. I feel like that's really an ethos that you've helped bring that along with the team, which is just so good. Chris, let's pivot over to you. As a service and platform provider, what do you think Microsoft's role is in helping game developers navigate new technologies like Xbox Series X and Project xCloud?
Frankly, if it's 2 words, it's eliminating friction, right? I mean, the game teams have a vision for what they want to build, and really, as a publisher, your job is to let them just execute on that and multiply the effort against it. And there are things that sometimes are tricky to manage when you're a studio, right? Large or small. Sometimes business questions come up, and you want to sell things in a different way, and the publisher does or doesn't support that. And so it's how do you push that and work with the publisher to get them to offer things in a different way. Sometimes it's technology. Hey, there's this new tech, we don't quite know what to do with it, or we have something and we want you to push it even farther. I mean, when I think about both xCloud and the Series X, right? More so than the GPU, as a game designer, the game designs that you can build because you have a much more powerful CPU is actually super interesting, because that's, for a while now, we've been able to make graphics and worlds that look very real. But the challenge frankly, from a game loop, from a game dynamics perspective, is how do you make those worlds act real, right? Physics and AI and doing all of that math actually requires a CPU that's pretty strong. And so when you think about kind of the typical trade-offs that you've had in games in the past, where, hey, I can have, a small number of enemies that are really, really smart, or a large number of enemies that are not so smart, grunts. That's always been a trade-off that's limited what you can do in the games. And from the fastest thing to make a developer laugh is, as a designer, you go into a room and you tell them that you want to build a scene where you're fighting in water, and you have a bunch of these enemies, and everything reacts dynamically to things getting wet, right? They just look at you and they're like, yeah, we can't do the physics for that. Like, you need a CPU with some power to do that. And so moving forward on something like Series X and in the cloud, and understanding, hey, this isn't just going to be something where it's going to look much better. It's going to make that world feel and sound much more real. We're going to allow you to do much better things with physics, like simulations. Like, those are the things that are going to allow games to take a giant step forward, and that's really what I'm excited to do. And as a publisher, I mean, there's certainly the bread and butter work we do, helping people understand the research that we've done into different regions if they want to know a customer that they're not familiar with in a different part of the globe, understand what their data pipeline and bandwidth is like in that region, understand where we think the technology is going, understand the shell experiences that we're going to build that are basically the stage for their title, right? Like, they're building this pearl, and we're this oyster to showcase that pearl. And really, the publisher's job is, how do you eliminate friction so that the game teams can just run at what they're really good at, and we can help support them with things that they shouldn't have to care about, right? They shouldn't have to care about building tools to allow them to look at how to optimize their engine and what's going on in picks, right? That shouldn't be their job. They shouldn't have to worry about building giant data centers across the planet, right? That should be our job. We can go do that. They should focus on the game and what's going to make it great. And so, simply put, hey, how do we just make it easier for them and allow them to turn things up?
That's good. And you mentioned, as you're talking through this idea of this awareness. And I think it's really interesting to talk about what it means to have your game be aware. And I hear you guys talk about this idea of this streaming aware point of view. Maybe Jason, can you maybe elaborate a little bit on what does it mean to be streaming aware, building a game streaming aware?
Yeah, so like Catherine was talking about, today with ProjectX Cloud, we're kind of doing what we call lift and shift, which is taking existing games that were already designed and built for Xbox and being able to run them in the cloud with the title not even really being aware that it's running in a remote data center. But I think there's a lot of power, and I think there's a lot of opportunity if the title actually knows whether or not it's being streamed or not. And in this case, we enabled console streaming on the Xbox One today. It's the same technology. Like, if you're actually streaming from either your local console, you're streaming from ProjectX Cloud, what would you actually change in your game? So Catherine used the example of, if I know that my game is actually streaming down to a mobile device, maybe I originally designed my HUD or my UI for a 10-foot user experience on a large screen TV, but when I'm actually streaming it to a mobile device, maybe I actually need to simplify the UI or increase the font size so it's more legible and easier to read. You also think about situations like multiplayer. Like, many multiplayer systems are designed with this notion of network latency and how do I keep people together? Well, if you knew that all your game sessions were actually all running in the same physical data center, you don't have to worry about ping times. You don't have to worry about network latency. And one of the technologies that we announced earlier this week is dynamic latency input, or DLI. Not only did we build that so that we will have the most precise and responsive input possible. If you're playing a game in your living room, say it's a competitive esports game, or it's a game that's running at 120 frames a second, where input latency really matters. But that same technology will also be available in ProjectX Cloud to allow a developer to actually measure their end-to-end input latency, so they can actually optimize or customize the input experience when they're actually streaming to a mobile device versus when you have a controller in your hands, as an example. So once again, when we really think about the continuum and how do we bring these things together, as we design and incubate and innovate in these various technology arenas, it's really about putting the power and the control in the developers' hands because they know what's best for their players and the game worlds that they're creating. And it's our job to provide the best platform possible so that they can deliver on that creative vision.
Wow. So good. So good. I want to take that and I want to turn the question a little bit. And Rachel, let's go over to you for a bit. This week, there's a lot of news coming out from gaming companies. And thinking about how people are positioning hardware and cloud platforms, it's starting to feel like the story is becoming this either-or narrative. In 2020, Microsoft's going to release both ProjectX Cloud and Xbox Series X. Now, Rachel, would you mind sharing a little bit about what is Microsoft's thinking behind this?
Yeah, Brian, I'm happy to. As we've mentioned, gamers and developers are truly at the center of everything we do. And for gamers, our vision is for them to be able to play the games they want with the people they want, wherever they want. And we know that our partnerships with developers are key to delivering on this mutual goal that we have. So we're taking our cues from gamers, from developers. And as Catherine mentioned, it is valuable for us to get these learnings and to constantly be learning about that. We know that gamers want more games, they want to play with more people, and they are playing on more devices around the world. And we know that developers are continually pushing boundaries, trying to reach more gamers around the world who are playing on more devices and more platforms. And so the Xbox Series X was really built for this evolving landscape of gamers playing on multiple devices, but also this thing that we're seeing happening with technology converging across console, PC, and cloud. We want both gamers and developers to feel unconstrained in this next generation of gaming. And so we are working with developers to unlock the potential for what we can develop and deliver to gamers together. And so more specifically from a developer perspective, Jason touched on some of this in his previous comments, we're really aiming to build hardware that unleashes their creative vision. We're empowering them to create how they want because they know what's best for them. And we're providing the tools they need for now and for the future. So this enables them to get their games to more gamers around the world, to more Xbox gamers around the world, whether they're playing on Series X, on PC, or xCloud. I think it kind of sums it up, the question you ask about, either or. We believe that the best experience for gamers and developers is the experience that's designed from day one, so it's better together. So I think you could kind of say our philosophy is an and philosophy. It's not an or philosophy. We will lead with the flagship experience on our next-gen console, and we will extend that to players who want to play on xCloud.
You said something that's super important, which is this idea of better together. And I think that is like a theme within just Microsoft and Microsoft GameStack. It's this idea that it's not an or statement, but it's an and statement, letting game developers really bring the tools that they're familiar with and then be able to work with the stuff they love from Microsoft. So I really like that. I'm curious, Catherine, this idea of better together, working on Project X Cloud and Xbox Series X, from a cloud perspective, what are your thoughts on this better together story?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm so pleased you called on me, Brian, because I was dying to add one thing to what Rachel said, which was so perfect. It's really about this idea of choice, playing your games wherever you choose to play them. And we just had such a great story come in the other week from one of our preview testers. He's actually in the armed forces and he's currently deployed. And he couldn't take his Xbox with him. But he gets to play Destiny 2 through the xCloud preview. And I just think that is so absolutely perfect. And, and really speaks to reaching people wherever they are. And then I also want to go sort of one point further with that, because, we talked earlier about reaching the 2 billion gamers. That demands, both looking to the Xbox world as we know it, but also what we call TAM expansion, the total addressable market that we can expand to. And, as within Preview, one of the markets will become
Die da steht, die Box bei ihm, das ist keine Retail-Box, das ist eine Dev-Box. Deswegen hat die noch den optischen Ausgang.
However, it's a market that we at Xbox don't know so well. So that is so fascinating as we work with developers to say, how can we bring these great games that we're building to new markets and new opportunities? And I really think that fits with the Better Together, that we take what we have and we bring it to new places and new people and new endpoints. So it just couldn't be a more exciting time to be part of Team Xbox.
Yeah, and it's like there's this whole kind of world where it's all coming together. And Chris, I almost want to ask the same question to you. Is like, you know, when you think about it from the design perspective, building Better Together is not simple anymore, just because you're having to deal with so many different endpoints and so many different customers and so many different games. Talk to a little bit about like what is the role of design in this idea of thinking about multiple products, multiple platforms, multiple networks.
Well, to Catherine and Rachel's point around choice, when you look at it from the player's perspective, players love games. What would they choose to do if you handed them a time travel device, right? Which is effectively what you do when you give somebody a cellular phone, right, or something that they can take with them, because they can't always sit in front of their PC or their laptop or their console to play the game that they so desperately want to play, right? People get tattoos of their favorite games, right? Like this is what they want to do, bar all else. And when they find themselves, you know, physically standing in a line somewhere for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 hours, however long it's going to be, their mind is often on that game. And
Leute, jetzt
what better
wartet
than
doch
have their
erst mal
mind
ab,
on that game, but to
Mensch.
actually give them
Jetzt
that
schreiben
wormhole, give them
wieder
that tunnel,
irgendwelche Leute
so
irgendwas in
that
den
they can
Chat.
spend that
Wartet
5
doch erst
minutes
mal
or
ab,
that
bis das Ding
15
auf den
minutes,
Markt
whatever it
kommt.
might be, interacting with the game they want to play. And sometimes, you know, through xCloud, it's actually playing it. Sometimes it's through things like Mixer, what they're doing to watch it. And it's really design's role to allow you, sometimes you want to play, sometimes you want to talk about that game with your friends. If you have a device with you or around you throughout the day, what role do those devices serve? And design's job is to make sure that it's helping people connect to the content and to the people that they want to play that content with as often as they can, right? As often as they choose to, because that player choice, right? Physically, if I'm standing in that line and checked out, okay, cool. I want to play a game. I want to talk about that game. And if you give me a 4-minute window to do it, amazing, I'm in. And so on the, you know, certainly on the developer side, you think about, well, hey, what does it mean to build something that allows you to play for, you know, a shorter amount of time, or to play continuously kind of throughout the day in small segments of time, not just for, you know, an hour or 6 hours that you're going to spend sitting in front of your console or your PC. And that's really what's amazing, right? When you talk about Better Together, it's about how do you give people the choice to participate in the thing that they love more often, and share that with more people. And certainly that was the goal that we set out to accomplish. And Better Together really just means being super attuned to letting gamers get closer to the thing that they love.
You know, I want to give a plug real quick for some content that we had that was pre-done before the show taped. And it was this xCloud talk that we have up on our on-demand site. So if you go to aka.ms/GameStackLive and you check out some of the xCloud content that's up on our YouTube page on demand, there's some fascinating stuff that's going on around the team and how they think about building for the platform. And Chris, I almost just want to ask a real quick follow-up on, which is like, with regards to design itself, what are some of the challenges when trying to design a UI or a UX that can map across multiple devices?
Oh, there's a lot. For the user, I mean, there's literally like, hey, what's the type ramp and how do you make it work in multiple locations? You know, whether the angular pixel density is different on a 10-foot screen than on something that's, you know, a foot or two in front of you, right? There's a bunch of just kind of technical details related to design. But really, when you think about what that UI is there to do, it's there to help connect you. And so the thing that might be appropriate in terms of, hey, I want to play right now, and this is how I want to interact with the game I love, is actually something different. And you might want to present more of a social view into that thing when you're looking at it on a cell phone in a short amount of time, because that's actually going to be the thing that then sets you up to play later in depth with your friends, right? It's how do you catalyze that group of people to get together. And when we talk to gamers, you know, the number one thing that they say is, hey, I wish I could spend more time gaming. I just don't have enough time. And it's even harder for me to find crossover time with my friends to play together, right? That's the problem that they would love help solving. And so from a UI perspective, there's literally, how do you make this, you know, this UI look good on a different endpoint, and what do I need to take into account from a design perspective? But it's also, what should I be showcasing to the user? Because it might not be that they want to play right now. It might want to be that they are catalyzing a group to get together to play later tonight. And so having your UI have an understanding of what a player has been doing across your game is really, really important, because then you can showcase that even within the game. Hey, we noticed you just finished, how are you going to get on later tonight or this weekend? Those are two independent things, but they're very much both in design's wheelhouse to try and fix. And I think when you think about the ecosystem that you're attached to moving forward, design is going to be increasingly focused on how do I get players access to the right thing at the right time, at the right moment. Because certainly our job is to take care of things like the type ramp, so that when you're looking at, fonts on a cell phone, when they've been streamed, that they're actually as appropriate there as they were on a 10-foot screen, right? That's just stuff we need to take care of.
Awesome. Well, let's take that conversation a little bit, and let's go a little bit more into our journey with developers. Now, Jason, this is a question for you. Given this is a year that we're shipping both a console and a streaming platform, I'm curious, Jason, what is the approach Microsoft has taken in the journey of working with game developers? And then, Catherine, we're going to also ask you the same question, so hang tight.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because Catherine and I often do this together, because we really don't talk to or engage with developers just on console or just on ProjectX Cloud or what we're doing with PC as an example. We really kind of talk to developers and lay out kind of our vision for the future and how we can help them deliver on the experiences that they want to provide to their players. So that means a consistent hardware platform between what's happening in the console ecosystem and what's happening in the game streaming side. It's a common software platform, common APIs. The vast majority of the code that game developers actually write should be reusable across the cloud, across the console, across PC. So as we've updated our API designs and our app model, we've really designed it so that it can work across multiple devices. And then really where we want developers to spend their time is focus on their game, making their game experience great so that players have a great experience, and then really kind of tailoring it to the unique capabilities of how they choose to deliver it. Simple things such as if I'm playing on a console, clearly I'm going to, prioritize or lead with controller-based input. But if the same game is being played on a PC, keyboard and mouse is critically important. Or maybe in a ProjectX Cloud scenario, it's more about touch controls or making it easier for a player to play there. So, it's actually been one of the highlights for me over the last 3 to 4 years is as we've been developing these plans, as we've and challenging the teams internally on kind of this next generation and how we think about gaming and game development, is going out and actually talking to the partners and, hearing their feedback, telling them here's where we see things are going, getting the feedback directly from them, and then adjusting and altering our plans. Because at the end of the day, we all just want those same great gaming experiences. And as Rachel and Chris and Catherine have said, it's really about making sure that the players all across the world can have these same great gaming experiences, and doing it in such a way that we make it as easy as possible for developers.
Oh, that's awesome. And I almost want to touch on that again, too. You said something that was really interesting about working with developers. And it's this idea of we have all these developers who are coming and watching GameStack Live right now and are participating in their Discord channel, following us on Twitter. For folks that are not currently working with Microsoft today and they're wanting to think about, the next generation of hardware, the next generation of streaming, what are some advice, some tips that you give in hey, this is what we've experienced working with game developers today. Here's some ideas of how to think about that. Maybe, Jason, you could start there, and then Catherine, we're going to come over to you.
Sure. I think the core of it is honestly just keep building games the way that you always have been building games. If you're building a game on PC today, we've made it very easy to take a PC code base and get it running on console or getting it running in the cloud. We partner very closely with all the industry's leading middleware providers and engine providers to make sure that they're optimized to take full advantage of what we deliver, whether it's hardware capabilities or some of the services that we have with Xbox Live and Azure PlayFab. And it's really about the part that's really exciting about this industry, and part of the reason why I love this industry, is it's the marrying of creativity and technology. And that's the thing that the game developers all across the world, whether it's, the largest studios working on a AAA blockbuster or small, super creative independent creators, it's about the creativity, and it's about the worlds that you want to create and the experiences that you want to deliver to players. And it's our job at Team Xbox to really remove the technology and make the technology fade away in the background. And developers are just really focused on creating that immersive experience that players want to spend time in.
That's good. Catherine, how would you say the same thing? What are your experiences and what are your thoughts on how a game developer should think about building for this next generation of hardware, building for this next generation of streaming?
Yeah, I'm just going to start. Jason said it so beautifully. We often go out together and exactly what just happens. Jason just says it so beautifully that I just kind of need to go, it's what he said. But I'll try and add to that in that, as we talked about before, this first step of the journey that we think we're on is what we're calling lift and shift. It's the convenience of developing for the Xbox that then magically works in the cloud. And that's a really important first step. And then Jason took us through it earlier, and I also talked to some of the touch controls and APIs we're building around sort of providing more information about whether the game is streaming. And that is the next piece, which is the cloud aware piece, which just allows us to optimize games. An important point that we probably haven't touched on so far, but is absolutely something that we're thinking about, is this concept of what we're calling cloud native games. These are games that no longer just use the resources of the local device, but harness the full power of the cloud. And it's so fascinating. Before the world got stopped by the coronavirus, I had an incredible trip to Japan and Korea, meeting with a ton of developers, and so fascinating to see how people were leaning in to really understanding how the cloud could actually change the process of development, the iteration of development, where teams sat to develop, as well as then, and I think it was Chris who mentioned it earlier, this idea of frictionless play, and therefore what that meant for the numbers of people who could play together, or even some of the business models and monetization of games. And what we're really seeing here is just creativity unleashed. As Jason just said, it's our job to put the technology somewhere behind so that others can just leverage it. And our vision is for developers to be able to really leverage the true power of the cloud. And we're not just seeing this excitement with some of our larger developers. It's incredible the support we've had from Chris Charler's ID at Xbox program and the indie developers. And our message to those developers is really clear. We just want you to focus on your games and your gameplay. Don't worry about porting it to other platforms. We're going to take care of that. Between the console and the cloud, we're going to take care of that for you. And so that's what I think is so exciting about this period. And that's the energy we get as we meet with developers, is that this period is about literally this unleashing of creativity, and that can only be great for gamers.
So something that not a lot of people outside of Microsoft get a chance to hear, which is just like some of the high-level thinking, some of the philosophies behind why we're doing this. Catherine, could you maybe touch on just for a second, like, where do we see this all going? We always talk about how we want to put the gamer at the center. We want to make sure that they can play the games they want on the devices they want with the people they want. Like, how does this all kind of play into the larger mission at Microsoft?
Yeah, no. Well, I don't know that I can speak to the larger mission of Microsoft, but I can certainly speak to how we view the vision as a team, which is it's all about ubiquity. Your game should be available to play on any device at any point that you choose to play it. And the community and all your saves and everything else related to the game just comes with you. I mean, think about it. We've seen this in video. You can watch your Netflix, I mean, I personally choose, and everybody scoffs at me, but I personally choose to watch most of my movies on my phone. But obviously you can watch it on any device that you choose. And I really think this concept of ubiquity is absolutely key. It's about reaching every platform. And it's about us, for developers, as I said before, really leveraging the cloud, and through our partners with Azure, which is, as we know, one of the world's leading clouds with huge geographical footprint, to really allow us to reach gamers who previously it was much harder for us to reach with this fidelity of games. So that's really our high level vision.
That's good. And I think in talking with a lot of the developers, especially as they're starting to kind of get to that next stage, one of the questions that, I think a lot of people who are not necessarily engaged with Microsoft today around Xbox Series X or Project X Cloud is, for developers who are sitting on the fence, maybe Rachel, if you could answer, like, what would you say to a developer who's kind of like looking at this technology and saying, like, I don't know, when's the right time to get involved?
I think it's a lot of what Catherine and Jason touched on. Jump in, right? I think back to when we started our indie game studio, seems like a lifetime ago. There were 3 of us. We didn't know what we didn't know, and that actually enabled us to go do really awesome things. And for us at Team Xbox, we truly love hearing those ideas and seeing what developers can create, because we're not going to tell you what to do, and we shouldn't tell you what to do. You're going to tell us, right? And so if I, put myself in, my own shoes a long time ago, I won't age myself. I think it would just be jump in, right? Jump in, work with us, reach out to us, help us learn what we don't know, help us figure out that, to reduce that friction, to help you be able to deliver those creative visions, especially as we think about, developing for both console and cloud. The cloud space is so exciting. I don't think we even know what that's going to look like. I always talk to the team about, watching my children play. They play together. They're on multiple devices. They're constantly going back and forth between devices. And it's where their friends are is where they go. I think when we think about the opportunity across all these platforms and all these devices, that's what Xbox wants to bring to developers, the ability to reach gamers where we see them going. And so jump in.
That's good. So let's talk real quick about some of the key learnings that we've gotten from development partners during the work that we've done to build out Xbox Series X and Project X Cloud. I always love the fact of, like, it's great to hear what's going well. What are some challenges that people just have in general building for the cloud and building for new technology? Jason, let's go to you.
Sure. So I think one of the things that's exciting about the transition of a generation is what you used to think of previously as constraints, many times they go away. I mentioned, like, the I/O system and the fact that we're at the upper bounds of what's possible with a rotational drive. Now that that's no longer a barrier, it opens up all these new possibilities, but then all of a sudden we're going to discover kind of some of the next challenges. It's like, now I have almost, kind of unlimited memory and I can feed it into the system, but now all of a sudden, certain limitations we previously counted on no longer exist. And I think that challenges a lot of preconceived notions. So I think there's that. And I think the other thing too is just, there's times where there's a member of the team who she mentioned, with Xbox One X, it was like getting a playground to play with. And then with something like Xbox Series X, now the team has an entire amusement park to play with. So it can be a little bit overwhelming to actually figure out, like, where do I want to invest? What are these new opportunities that I have? So I think the real guidance that I'd give to developers in the community out there is, challenge yourselves, think creatively. What is the gaming experience you always wanted to build? And, a little bit to what we've talked about throughout today, if there's ever something where, the software is not enabling you to do it, or the development tools would be more useful if they did this, or my iteration time needs to improve, we want that feedback. We need that feedback. We absolutely listen to that feedback, and it fundamentally shifts the direction that we go. So we listen very closely to the gaming community. We're all gamers ourselves. We all play on Xbox Live almost every day. We have family members that we play with and we connect with. But it's also true with developers as well. You know, we want to know where we've gotten it right. We want to know where you're struggling. And it's our challenge then is to take that feedback and go away and come up with really creative solutions that meets the needs of the development community so that you guys can just focus on delivering that amazing gaming experience that all of us can't wait to actually play.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. All right, I think we're getting tight on time, so we're going to do what's called the lightning round. We have a set of questions we're going to ask every single person here. What are the most important things for a game developer to take away from this conversation today? Rachel, let's start with you.
Okay, I'll try to be super quick since you said we're tight on time. I think my hope is that one of the biggest takeaways from today is a feeling of excitement. You know, as we've mentioned, you know, we're in the midst of something, you know, very crazy, unprecedented going on in the world. There's a lot of heaviness. I hope that anybody listening, whether it was a developer, a gamer, maybe a student who's supposed to be doing remote learning, that they feel that light inside of them, that they feel that passion that we all have for gaming. I hope they're excited about the future, excited about our next gen hardware and software, excited about, you know, how we can do things together and the things we're going to build together to reach gamers around the world so that they can play, watch, communicate, and create together.
That's good. That's good. Chris, let's go over to you. What is the most important thing a game developer should take away from this conversation?
You know, I was really hoping to talk about what we've learned in relation to input and skill ceiling, right? Like if you tell everybody, hey, we're going to pack a stadium of people to go watch tic-tac-toe, that wouldn't be the case because the world championship of tic-tac-toe is going to be boring because there's no skill ceiling, right? It always comes out as a tie. And as we've gone down this route and looked at what the new generation of people growing up, learning how to use, you know, play games on glass natively, which is different than certainly how I grew up, you know, playing games on mouse and keyboard and with the controller. People can play games on glass to a degree and a fidelity which allows a skill ceiling, which is actually pretty incredible. And it was, you know, 2 years ago when we kicked off our journey looking at that. I didn't think that was going to be the case. And now that we've looked at it both on the customer side and what the best kind of game developers on the planet are doing, people are really solving the skill problem or the skill ceiling problem. So when you think about pushing a game out, I would not be worried about thinking about a phone perhaps as the lowest common denominator. Be confident that you can actually make the game that you've built originally, you know, when you were thinking about a PC or a console, you can make that skill ceiling, you can make that thing excellent, no matter where it's being streamed to.
That's good. All right, Catherine, let's go to you. What is the most important thing that a developer can take away from this conversation today?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say is, look, embrace the new, be open to learning, and don't constrain your thinking by frameworks that have existed in gaming previously. I think we're in a period where we are rewriting the rules of traditional game development, and I think that's such an exciting period with huge opportunity. And the only way that we can really, you know, leverage that is by being open to any amount of possibilities and just increasing those learning cycles. So be open to the new. That's my main takeaway.
That's good. And Jason, what is the most important thing a developer can take away from today's conversation?
It's kind of funny. I'm like Catherine. Everybody else said it so eloquently. I don't know how much more I can add. I guess the only thing that I would add to what everybody else has really talked about is just focus on the player, focus on the gamer, just really focus on how can you delight that player. You know, the need to play is just a fundamental human condition. And that's why I think many of us work in this industry and we love this industry because at the end of the day, our job is to create fun and there's nothing better to do. And so as long as you're focusing on the player, we're here to help in any way that we can. We want the feedback from the community, both players and developers. But as long as you're focusing on the player, I don't think you can really go wrong.
That's good. Man, so good. Well, thank you guys so very much for joining over the phone. It has been an awesome chance to talk with this. That's it for us. Malik, Kelly, over to you.
He took the console. Oh. Anyway, Thanks, Brian. Well, Kelly, if you wanted to know more about next-gen hardware and what it can do in the cloud, we can all cross that off the list right now.
Indeed, indeed. I could not be more excited, and that was such a great conversation. What do you guys think? Malik, what do you think?
Das war jetzt halt ziemlich trocken, ne, würde ich mal sagen. Aber ich bin der Meinung, für die es jetzt verstanden haben oder das meiste halt davon verstanden haben, die wissen genau, worum es da ging. Eigentlich wollten die uns quasi ja nur die ganzen Sachen näher bringen. Also ich fand das ganz aufschlussreich, vor allem, dass man auch mal ein bisschen was sieht, ne? Vor allem gerade diese Cloud-Geschichte, die können wir uns ja quasi gar nicht anders vorstellen. Wir sehen die ja niemals, weil es halt, wie gesagt, in diesen Rechenzentren steht. Und jetzt fand ich es halt mal cool, dass sie uns da einfach mal so ein Rack gezeigt haben. Das ist übrigens ein 2HE-Rack, spricht man davon. Das nennt man 2 Höheneinheiten. Und diese, wie ihr es gesehen habt, sind auf jeden Fall bestückt gewesen. Das waren auf jeden Fall die Xbox One S waren da drin, weil das waren noch keine One X. Series X meine ich, oder One X waren das auch nicht. Das hat man gesehen halt an den, weil die halt vom Alter her, das waren noch nicht die neuen Dinger. Also gehe ich jetzt mal davon aus, weil derzeit ist es so, dass die One S da drin sitzen und ja, also da muss ich ganz ehrlich sagen, das war ganz cool. Dann kurz zu der Box. Ihr habt schon richtig gesagt, ja, da war ja eine mit optischen Eingang oder besser gesagt Ausgang in dem Sinne. Und bei den Renderbildern, die wir gesehen haben oder die wir alle gesehen haben, da ist kein optischer Ausgang. Ich weiß jetzt nicht, ob das nur Renderbilder sind und die damit quasi einfach fehlen oder ob die, kann ich nichts zu sagen, weil es gibt auch keine richtigen Specs darüber, ob jetzt da ein optischer Anschluss dran ist oder nicht. Ich finde, wir sollten einfach warten. Da müssen wir jetzt einfach abwarten, ob da was kommt oder nicht. Und dann schauen wir uns das genau an, würde ich jetzt sagen. Also ich kann mir nicht vorstellen, dass da nichts zu kommt. Also wenn man das dann, was weiß ich, über irgendwas anderes lösen soll, dann weiß ich nicht wie, weil den optischen, das war auf jeden Fall, also ich fand, der gehört eigentlich dahin. Also ja, die haben den bei der One S, bei der X, bei der One, der war immer dran, ja. Wenn ihr euch daran erinnert, bei der 360 damals, da gab es ja diesen breiten Anschluss hinten dran und da war der in diesem grauen Anschluss dran. Also ich würde mich wundern, wenn sie den jetzt auf einmal weglassen würden. Das wäre sehr seltsam. Also da bin ich mal gespannt. Ich vermute, dass der dann wieder an derselben Stelle sitzen wird. Ich frage jetzt mal nicht in die Runde, was ihr davon gehalten habt, weil ich denke mal, bei euch ist es eher so, naja, geht so angekommen, weil das ist halt auch wieder sehr trockene Theorie gewesen. Da geht es quasi darum, also kurzer Zusammenfassung, die haben sich halt quasi erstmal dahingesetzt, um das ein bisschen näher zu bringen. Die haben auch ganz klar nochmal gesagt, dass es nicht nur für Mobilgeräte gedacht ist, also sprich für Smartphones oder für Tablets, sondern die X-Cloud wird auch auf Windows 10 PCs kommen. Ja, das haben sie gerade nochmal ganz klar gesagt. Für die sich nicht vorstellen können, was meinen die damit? Ganz einfach, wenn ihr einen PC habt, dann könnt ihr X-Cloud mit dem Spieleangebot, und das würde dann, so wie es jetzt meines Wissens nach ist es halt so, dass wir den Game Pass bekommen und der Game Pass beinhaltet den Zugang zur Cloud. Ja, das bedeutet also, wenn du eine Xbox hast und schon den Xbox Game Pass für die Konsole nutzt, dann wirst du wahrscheinlich die App einfach auf dem PC runterladen können und dann go for it. So sehe ich das. Genau, hier wurde auch nicht damit geworben, hier wird was gezeigt oder so. Es ging einfach nur schlichtweg darum, die wichtigsten Personen haben sich in einem Telefoncall zusammengefunden. Ja, das muss ich aber ganz ehrlich auch als Kritik anmerken. Ich habe mir andere Sachen schon angeschaut davon und da wurde das über Microsoft Teams gemacht. Microsoft Teams ist eine Art Skype, nur dass es halt direkt von Microsoft entwickelt wurde, aber es beinhaltet wahrscheinlich die Skype-Funktion. Und da saßen die halt auch in Gruppen zusammen, alle mit Kamera. Und da hat man die halt auch gesehen. Das fand ich jetzt hier ein bisschen schade, dass es hier nur reine Bilder waren. Aber mein Gott, dafür war die Soundqualität angenehm und man hat es auch verstanden. Also von daher ist das okay. War ein netter Livestream. Wünsche euch noch einen Abend. Alles klar, Mr. Kowalski. Schönen Abend noch. Hey Dedi, Mann, was geht? Wie gesagt, also, und die halt, ich sage jetzt mal in Anführungsstrichen, die Leute, die halt nichts damit anfangen können, ja. Hier wurde nichts versprochen, hier wurde nicht gesagt, wir sehen jetzt hier gleich Gameplay oder sowas. Hier wurde gar nichts gesagt, ja. Das sind einfach Informationen, die zusätzlich da sind gerade und das ist immer noch mehr als das, was wir von der PlayStation gehört haben, ja. In diesem Sinne, wenn ihr jetzt keine weiteren Fragen habt, würde ich das Ganze dann auch hier direkt abschließen und bedanke mich auf jeden Fall für euren crazy Support. Wir haben schon über 50 Daumen hier. Dann hatten wir konstant sehr gute Zuschauerzahlen. Das nächste Mal, ich habe mir auch schon das Okay geholt für die E3, also für die E3-Konferenz, die dann ebenfalls in diesem Moment.
Making a list of priorities for the company, the word at the top of the list would be creativity. That's something we like to see in every game that we make and everything that we do, whether it's our business or, I don't want to say creative finances. That probably sounds bad.
A game shouldn't just be one person's vision. There's always going to be something in like a Double Fine project that will appeal to like a very wide variety of people because we have such a wide variety of people making that content here. That's just what makes our game special.
Double Fine games, they feel like they're made by humans. That's something that I think leads to a
neuer Titel von Double Fine, auch ein Xbox-Studio. Ja, ich würde dennoch dann jetzt sagen, dass wir das dann langsam abschließen und wie gesagt, ich bedanke mich auf jeden Fall fürs Zuschauen und ich dachte, da kommt jetzt irgendwie was, was wir jetzt nicht mitberechnet hätten oder so, deswegen ist schon okay. Ihr wisst, wie es ist. War informativ, fand ich auch. Also für die Leute, ich sag mal, die wirklich sich mit Xbox auseinandersetzen, die dafür Bock haben, das sich zu informieren oder sonst irgendwas, die werden hier auf jeden Fall Spaß dran gehabt haben. So, und jetzt bedanke ich mich auf jeden Fall, wünsche euch noch einen schönen Rest Mittwochabend. Wenn ich jetzt noch Bock gehabt hätte, aber ich muss morgen auch wieder arbeiten, muss wieder fit sein, ansonsten hätte ich mit euch nochmal in Doom Eternal reingeschaut, denn Bethesda hat mir eine Xbox-Version zukommen lassen. Ich muss die allerdings auch noch installieren, das heißt also, ich denke, je nach Größe wäre das dann heute auch sehr spät geworden, deswegen machen wir das gerne morgen. Dann würde ich sagen, morgen im Stream schauen wir in Doom Eternal rein, weil man darf es auch offiziell schon, also mit der Version, die ich habe, darf ich es auch schon streamen. Und dann machen wir das morgen aber allerdings auf Twitch. Jetzt muss ich mal ganz kurz gucken. Da, genau richtig. Mit diesem Link kommt ihr zu meinem Twitch-Kanal. Da einfach mal vorbeischauen und lasst da ein Follow da, dann kriegt ihr mit, wenn ich live gehe. Genau, alles andere, wenn irgendwas mit Xbox ist oder sonst irgendwas, das werden wir weiterhin hier auf meinem YouTube-Channel direkt machen, damit ich die Sachen dann nicht erst wieder runterladen muss von Twitch und dann wieder hier hochladen. Das macht keinen Sinn für mich. Deswegen mache ich das ganz einfach so, dass wir das dann direkt hier machen. Und merkt euch schon mal vor, wir werden definitiv die, ich sag jetzt mal, E3, was da uns dann gezeigt wird, werden wir auf jeden Fall auch hier schauen, weil ich habe mir das Okay schon geholt und ich darf es auf jeden Fall wieder restreamen. Also, dann sage ich mal, schönen Mittwochabend. Ich wünsche euch einen angenehmen Abend. Pennt gut und naja, ihr wisst schon. Wir sehen uns morgen, wenn ihr Bock habt. Ansonsten eben nicht. Ich mache jetzt gleich noch eine kleine Party für die Mods. Ich würde gerne noch mal ganz kurz mit den Mods sprechen und dann sehen wir uns morgen. Haut rein. Cheers.